In school, I couldn't tie my shoes right, and I wanted to please the teacher, and so I would start crying. And they pulled my mom into the school, and they said, something is wrong with your daughter. She keeps crying just because she can't tie her shoes. But that's the first memories I have of trying to make everyone happy and trying to be perfect for everyone else. I walked into the art therapy room, and the art therapist wanted me to paint my feelings. And I basically told her what she could do with her paints. And she said, okay, I'll teach you to draw. And she did. And every time I'd really get angry on the unit, they'd stick a pencil in my hand and I would draw. And in a way, that art therapist saved my life when she taught me to draw, because it opened up like a whole new thing for me to try. And I really was horrible at first. I mean, I couldn't draw worth a darn. And I would go to MyAd and I would take an art class, and it was brutal. The teachers would bring everyone over to show what was wrong with their drawing, and I would be in tears. But they would also show what was right. But it gave me a thick skin too. And but I just kept pressing on and on and on, because it gave me something to think about rather than the dark thoughts. This January, I started volunteering at the secure detention facility downtown. I was scared to death, but I went in there, and every other week I teach 8 of the special needs inmates. They are mostly chronically mentally ill men. I teach them art for an hour and a half. And these guys have been wonderful. And they know that I have bipolar disorder. They know that I'm not like a trained person, so that they know that they can talk to me about anything. You know, I don't take everything, and the minute they start trash talking, I say, no, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know what they did either. I want to just see them for who they are. But going there every other week, it just gives me a sense that I'm giving back to the community in some way. And I encourage everybody who is on disability to just not sit at home, not just sit in a clique of several people and smoke cigarettes or play cards or whatever. I think everyone should get out and volunteer, even if it's one day a week, because it really gives you a feeling like, yes, I am worthwhile.
I paint a lot. That's like one of my biggest things for me. It keeps me going, like keeps me sane, and I love it. Because you get really depressed and then stop doing the things that you love. I'm like, why did I stop doing this? I loved it so much. And I was really good at it. I see myself as an artist.
The worst bouts of my mental illness began after I divorced at 40. Midlife hit, I could have set my watch to it. And I ended up in a severe depression. And I had suffered depression before in my life, but this was probably the worst case I had ever had. There was a period there where I spent about a year basically in bed. I couldn't function. And finally my boyfriend looked at the box of pills that I had been prescribed and said, this isn't right. And so we went and found different care, and I detoxed off of all these meds. And he said, why don't you try painting? And he had some art supplies in a room, and it was watercolors, and he gave me the watercolors and, some paper and that. And I always loved art therapy in the hospital. I just thrived in that. And so I started to dabble with it. And I noticed that the more I painted and the more I focused on that, the easier it was to control the mood swings. So I started to paint more. I used the artwork along with medical care to be my stabilizing influence. And I started to get better. It was a year and no hospitalizations, then it was 2 years, then it was 3 years. It's now been 12 years. My recovery is seeing the growth in the other people, because when they grow, I'm growing too. It becomes a symbiosis, a mutual thing.